Hi Paula, here's the feedback from the mock exam that you did recently, or the reading part of the mock exam that you did, and you scored the full 4 marks for question 1, so that's a good start. Moving on to question 2, where you've been asked to analyse the language the writer used to describe the storm. Well, you started off well, saying it's very descriptive and detailed, and you've given the 2 quotes there. Your analysis, you say, which gives me a good visual image of a ferocious storm. So that's a nice use of ferocious. You've then gone on to say the writer uses personification when describing how the storm looks to him, lashing and roaring. And then you said I would also say that this is also the use of hyperbole, as he's exaggerated when describing. So it's good use of the terminology and you've good use of the quotes. However, your analysis is a bit weak really for this question. So unfortunately it's going to be 2 out of the possible 8 marks because it's a simple comment on the effect of language. You need to say more than it just gives me a good visual image of a ferocious storm. You've picked up on lashing, so you could have said that it sounds like the wind is whipping the trees around and beating them against the ground. And the roaring, it could be a deafening sound, or it could be the sound of an animal, a wild animal, being very aggressive and intimidating to the land. So that's what you need to do to get yourself up into the level 2 and the level 3. Really zoom in on particular words and explain the exact feeling that it's trying to create in you, not that it's just painting a picture for you to see how bad things were. Okay, moving on to question 3, where you've been asked to analyse how the text has been structured to interest you as a reader. So we have a good start. The writer begins by saying, Alex had just woken up startled by a nightmare. And you've said this immediately grabs your attention as you can visualise him doing this. You've then said it goes on to describe the dream and how he feels helpless about his mum. You could have done with adding a quote in there, but you've analysed it by saying it gives the impression that he's feeling anxious or he's really helpless about his mum. And then you've said it changes the focus to the family setting and some of the conversation about mum going to die. So you've got your quotes there and a little bit of analysis here, very emotional, emphasises the feeling. Then you've said that the writer switches back to Alex describing his anger towards everyone and life in general. Again, we could have done with the quote. And you've said this portrays a scared little boy who's hurting and trying to keep it together, but is really struggling. And then you've said it finishes with a dramatic sentence, she was little more than a silent ghost. But again, you've not said what effect that has on you as the reader. However, I think overall you've done better in this question than question 2. So if we look at level 2, attempts to comment on the effect of the structural features, well, you have given some analysis of how the structure affects the reader. You've given some appropriate examples, but more would have given you the higher marks. And you've made some use of subject terminology, mainly appropriately. So for this question, the subject terminology is begins or in the beginning. And then you said then he changes the focus to the family setting, then switched back to Alex. So yeah, you have made some use of subject terminology. So I think it's 4 out of the possible 8 marks for this question. We're moving on to question 4, where you're asked to what extent do you would agree with the statement that the breakfast scene shows that Alex is struggling to cope with his mother's illness. You've said that you agree completely that Alex is struggling. You said he's angry and hurting and helpless as there's nothing they can do to help his mum. You said the reference to missing a balanced diet at normal times reiterates this and shows empathy and respect for his father. His mother's described as easy laughter and affection, and how painful her absence is suggests they had a close relationship and he's feeling lost without it. Alex is even missing the discipline and the sharpness, and he could never get away with anything. He believes that Alex is also sad for his mother. He describes her appearance as too thin and sunken eyes with shadows. He struggles to talk about his mother with his family as he tells his sister to shut up when she tries to ask questions. And then he rushes out. He said he doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to discuss his feelings, betraying a scared or lost boy who was yearning for his mother. Okay, looking at the mark scheme, so if we look at level 2, make some evaluative comments on the effect on the reader. So you have done that. You've done quite a few times. You've said what the effect is on the reader. Show some understanding of writer's methods. Now this is the one that I'm not clear about here. I think you probably have done it where you've said that Alex describes his mother and describes her appearance. But to be clear and to make it obvious to the examiner, I would try and use the words the writer uses, dialogue, or the dialogue between Alex and his sisters, to show how angry he is because he shouts at them when they're just asking a simple, straightforward question. And the writer compares Alex's feelings and impressions of his mum before she got ill to now. I think you need to make sure that it's obvious to the examiner. And you could have mentioned the last sentence where she's seen as a silent ghost, where the writer's used a metaphor, little more than a silent ghost, which suggests that she's become almost an invisible presence in the family life, and could be said to be haunting Alex with the memory of what she used to be like. So I think overall it's 10 marks out of the possible 20. And had you done a little bit more of showing some understanding of the writer's methods, it would have got up onto the level 3. So you've done much better on this question. So well done. This gives you an overall score for the reading part of the question of 20 out of 40, which isn't a bad score, so well done.